little money down. Watch this video as I sit down with Jose from Rig Hut, and we're going to do a real-time live underwrite just using the internet and Google Maps to find how you can make an offer and get started owning a truck parking lot.
Hey guys, thanks for hopping on here. We like doing this last time. We're going to choose one that we've never seen before, and we're going to give you our take on how to value these.
And absolutely stay tuned for the whole video, because at the end, I'm going to give you an LOI template, which is a letter of interest, and we're going to fill it out in real time and find the owner's information. And once you have that price for the yard, then you can plug it into this Word document template and fire it off to your own sellers. Tell me, where in the world, where in the United States are we going to underwrite today?
I think we're going to choose an ever popular area for truck parking. We'll go to Atlanta.
Hotlanta. All right.
All right. You know, this is not scripted whatsoever, so we'll just do Atlanta truck parking and see what we find. Let's skip the sponsor. Let's look at the satellite. Zoom in here. Let's see, something like this.
So talk us through what you're looking for. Do you want to necessarily have to be on major freeways? Do you need to be on interstates, or are state highways comparable from your perspective in terms of demand?
It is very local, because some people ask us, how far out from the interstate can we be? How many turns off the highway is enough turns before drivers just ignore your site? And really what it comes down to knowing your local market. If you know that there's not that much competition, or say that the competition that is out there maybe is not providing a safe and secure facility that you as a truck driver are looking for, then maybe it doesn't matter that you are 3 turns off the highway, or maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it's 10 plus minutes off. If there are no other solutions and you have a great yard with a good, sound surface, a good access control, well lit, in a clean and well-kept area that's secure, then truckers will, they will enjoy it, and they will welcome and park there and stay there with you. So I think it just all comes down to the local and competitive dynamic in your true market, right? And that's, the actual neighborhood and the actual, specific area that you're in.
And do you think that holds true if your main source of revenue is daily parking versus monthly parkers too?
That's another great question. I think if you are, so what we're doing here is we're going to Atlanta. Last time we did this, I think it was South Florida. In the major industrial markets where the density is high and it's more of an industrial infill type yard, you're going to find a lot of monthly local drivers wanting to park their trucks or their fleets there with you. And this is monthly, long-term, 30-day like agreements. This is not so much a guy who's going to find you off the highway and park for the day. Granted, daily and weekly are just as important in any type of yard. What we've seen is that a lot of yard owners, they run the monthly, they run the 30-day type longer term yards, longer term meaning monthly, but they always leave a portion or just welcome the fact that, hey, if someone is coming for the day or for the week, you could charge a little bit of a premium. And if you have the space, why not just accept them? Again, if you have the tools in place, like the secure access control, the well-lit area, cameras, etc., because also you want to make sure that the monthly drivers, your long-term type tenants, are comfortable that you're bringing in guys overnight, right? You want to be able to exude a sense of how should I say, a well-maintained yard, and you want to let everyone know that that is what you're running there. If you're never there and it's always dark and you just let anyone come in there, then less and less drivers are going to want to park or store their assets there long term, and they'll talk, right? So you got to be cognizant of how you're going to run the yard. In Atlanta, if we're talking about Atlanta here specific, great industrial market, huge demand, a lot of freight, a lot of logistics companies, a lot of trucking companies. You're going to find in Atlanta that the majority of these are probably all monthly, right? Longer term.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about the yard you've honed in on. It looks like a big site right
That's
off
fine.
of
That's fine. Yeah, so this is a good one, right? This one's unique, right? Great area. You can see a lot of stuff that we look for, or from what we've recognized, well-run yards that perform well, they are usually in surrounding residential areas, right? They're just in an industrial area where the surrounding development has just continued to increase, and a lot of times it's residential. That just means that they're in a good area that's been probably grandfather zoned appropriately, and they're just taking advantage because they know truckers are around, logistics companies are around, and companies will want to be there closer just because they're closer to the high activity.
Gotcha. All right. Well, can you zoom out just a little bit, because now we've picked this one, it is Atlanta. They advertise Atlanta, but we're pretty far from the city. I mean, I know we're south of the airport, so can you zoom
Just
out?
south,
Like,
yeah, just southeast of the airport. Airport's not that far away at all.
but this is still close enough that you think drivers making a delivery to Atlanta proper, it's close enough for them to be like, yeah, that's a legit location if I'm going to Atlanta.
No doubt. No doubt.
Okay.
This is a great location right off of
Okay.
I-75. Frontage here is not ideal, as you can tell. You're not going to see it in I-75 unless they put a sign out there. You'll be surprised. Physical signage is probably one of the heavier drivers of bringing in traffic. If you can get physical signage on a major highway, that's going to drive a lot of the traffic. But again, if you're in a great area, they will find you.
Okay, well, let's just jump into it. You're looking for access. If you were writing this up, is it a simple question of just yes or no? The access is good enough, yes or no. And then if it's no, you would move on and not underwrite a property if the access was terrible.
I would say that if they're in a good enough market, if they're in a strong market like Atlanta, then as long as access is actually possible for an 18 wheeler, then you want to keep looking into it. Just because it's hard to find actual yards in these types of areas, so
Gotcha.
you want to find ways to make that work. Now, if you're comparing maybe like a B or C type area, then I would look deeper into, is this access maybe better than compared to another yard I can find. But something like this, you want to look deeper into.
Okay.
It is not right off the highway. You do, at least from what I'm seeing, you're looking at 4 or 5 turns off the highway to get there. Still, market strong enough where I'm going to continue to look. So if we want to zoom, if we want to now look at the yard itself, this is not your pure truck parking facility. This is more your wheelhouse, Ron. I'm seeing a warehouse here. They're lining up in what looks like personal vehicles for the drivers all around here. That's always
Yep.
a welcoming amenity for drivers, local guys. They do want to park their own personal vehicles. A lot of time what we've seen is they'll just park it in their own spot. Still seeing a lot of different use cases. You have trailers around here. I don't know if this is connected to the same property, but solid lot here. Good shape, a rectangle shape. These look like what, 1, 2, these are 2 bays. Maybe there's an office in here. Maybe there's showers. Who knows?
You think there's definitely restrooms and those amenities are going to be available for truckers?
I think it depends. If this landlord is leasing, if they're getting creative, right? They can either offer this as an amenity to fill up the yard, or from what I think this market, they're probably leasing that warehouse to one of these drivers or one of these
Yeah.
companies here, and the company has it for himself. All right, so let's just do Ron's methodology of estimating income. So go ahead and let's count. We'll just count the trucks from what we see on the satellite. This looks like a yard that is definitely active. A lot of trucks on here. Here are the personal vehicles that they're parking in their spaces. So let's count. 1, 2. I'm counting probably around 80 to 100 spaces on this, if we just look at the bulk here.
And that's all for 75 foot?
All for 75 foot.
Wow, that's great.
Maybe we can find what they're charging.
Yeah, do they have a website? Yeah, they do have a website. So it looks like they are advertising.
So yeah, I was going to say 275. That's probably what we're seeing in the area. 5 a month for a truck and trailer space. Solid Google business profile here, very important for these yards so that they're easily found. Drivers are searching. They're searching truck parking near me. They're searching truck parking in Atlanta. They're going on this yard. They're seeing the good reviews, 4.5 plus. It's a clean profile. They have the website. They have the phone number. I'm sure they're answering that phone. The hours, that all checks out. All right, so I counted 100 spaces. We're going to say it's probably a little bit more. If it's 10 acres, if it's a good shape from what we saw, we'll do truck and trailer spaces. We'll do truck only spaces, which I saw some. The 275. What were they charging for trailer only? Also, here they're charging trailer only and truck and trailer at the same price, around the same price, 275, 280, and then truck only 150. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird to me. A box truck versus 150 for truck only. It kind of implies to me, is that the cab? I mean, is that a tractor only?
That's a tractor only. 20
But
about a 20 foot.
why isn't that the same length as a box truck who's going to be sub 40 feet? You could fit a bobtail in that same space.
I think what we've seen in many yards, what we've been asked before and what we've noticed is that when we were pretty intimate with a yard that we were working with by Port Everglades in South Florida, there's some yards that just welcome day cabs, right? Just if you're by the port, you have drayage type companies where all they need are day cab, all they need are truck only spaces, and there's actually a premium for it. But if you're not in an area where the day cabs are fetching that premium or there's a demand for it solely, then what people do with day cabs is they'll just try to get them in, right? And they'll try to fit them in any little corners or nooks that they have available. And they'll charge whatever it may be just to get people to come in.
Versus the box truck guy, he's gonna complain if he's not being able to pull in and out easily, and
Yeah. And trucks can be, you have a whole sort of plethora of different types of box trucks. You've got sprinter vans, you got the box trucks that can be food trucks, you could be
yeah, and they have the
small.
refrigeration units on top, so they can be really tall. They can
Right.
be super tall sometimes. So 18 feet. All right, that
So what
makes
I
sense.
saw in this yard though, I saw really only truck and trailer spaces. So we'll just go off of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, they're trying to claim RV and boat, but that's that's a retail type customer that so far doesn't seem like they've.
Right. So let's see. I see about 100 truck and trailer spaces. Actually, I see a little bit more. We'll just give the benefit of the doubt. We'll do 150 truck only. I don't see truck only spaces. And then if we'll do the surrounding personal vehicle, box truck spaces, if we're going to count all those, we'll do a quick count. About 50. So shorts, they were charging 225. So gross about 50K a month. Yeah,
Let me share what I'm looking at. This is what we were talking about, which is 10 acres. This is the main parcel, but this is also 6 acres, which is included and same ownership. I think they're clearing it. So this satellite is probably a more recent image than our Google Maps.
Yep, it is.
So they're clearing it and they're trying to make additional capacity for more revenue. And they also own this corner up here, zero point 0.6 acres, but they're definitely parking and generating revenue.
Yeah.
And then my final comment, and this is more from a legal perspective, they don't own this, and their road is access must have an easement. And I'd be super curious to see what that easement language, and I may look it up later, but that is a huge limitation in terms of maintaining, improving, or damaging, or going off the road, whatever. They have a weak point in that access to their massive 16 acres is
Mm-hmm.
governed by somebody else's property. And I'll just say, there may be fees associated with that. There may be costs. And if they don't get along with this neighbor, it could cause issues for that truck traffic. And especially, I would say, like the scope of an easement. It might be initially the scope of the easement is to allow, commercial access to utilize the property. But parking only maybe is interpretive. Like, we did not anticipate that you would be sending 75 semi trucks every day across my road.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to do that. And that's a very valid legal thing. And if this guy decides to, file a lawsuit to get rid of that, they've got a very good shot at winning. When the easement was drafted, it was not intended to have truck parking. It was just to access a building, for tenants or employees to access a warehouse. So just something to consider, that access across somebody else's property is always risky. And especially for semi truck parking is not something I'd love. But Jose, I just want to call out to not to count these trucks and warehouse because that is a separate parcel
No,
down
yeah, I did
here.
not count those.
It is very common. A lot of truck parking lots are composed of multi parcels. So you've got to make sure you
Right.
have a clear understanding. You're not overestimating the land and you're not undercounting the income either. So just be careful. It's not like nice platted neighborhoods or new construction, multifamily, where everything is nice and clean and single parcel.
All right. So I think the only portion we were missing here was those trailers, and they do charge for it. So let's add it. Trailer only is also 275, and actually truck and trailer is 280. That changes things. Let me see if you have. Okay, so the trailers on the top right, which was theirs, they have about 15 trailer only, and then another 5 well look like truck only. So let's just do truck only and trailer only here, 275. So yeah, it definitely bumps it up. So I wouldn't stop here just because they have that warehouse, right? It looks like actually a larger warehouse than, oh no, so it is 2 bays. It looks like in this picture here about a year ago, it is being utilized. And I'll also see, okay, under the truck parking sign, I see on the satellite, it says R&R diesel repair. A very common case with a lot of these yards. If you have the space, the diesel repair is a very natural tenant to bring in there because not only are they going to find work within the yard themselves, they're going to, they're going to, as long as the guy, knows what he's doing and he can help the drivers on the yard, you'll have a healthy relationship with that person. Meaning, he'll pay, and he'll also bring traffic to you, right, to your yard.
Yep. Okay, so storage warehouse at 4,000 square feet, 19 feet high, and then office is 2. So it's a 6,000 square foot building. I would just peg them at like $12 a foot to the building. Would triple net, I guess, or maybe gross. If you already have gross tenants, sometimes it's easier. So, do you want to add a row for the R&R diesel rent shop? Oh
So I
yeah, there
have
you go.
here shop. So we'll do $1 a month a foot.
Yeah, yeah,
And down here, I just did 6,000 feet. And then, so
perfect.
6,000 a month brings it
And
up to
again,
about
guys, this is
65.
kind of like an imperfect science. Maybe one party has more leverage, and so the rents are higher. Maybe it's lower.
Right.
I can say pretty confidently he's not paying 20,000 a month, and he's not paying 3,000 a month. So it's kind of something in between there. He could be
And to
more if
and to go off that, I would also confidently say that a lot of these yards, you can count with the satellite or you can estimate how many spaces they can fit in an acre, but a lot of times these yard, you get creative if you're actually on the yard. You could fit a few day cabs here and there. You can charge a guy to store some extra material in the back, and that all helps, right?
for sure. So all right, you want to hit that on an annual basis, and then what kind of expense ratio you're at, like 10%? I mean, there's not going to be a full-time employee um, on site or anything. Do you think they're going to have 15, 20% expense ratio between taxes and insurance? All right. Uh, all right, guys, Ron from Ron Rohde Law. And now I'm going to pick up on some of the legal research. What we've done is we've gone into the public assessor records for Clayton County, Georgia. And what you can do is plug in the street address. So let me see if you guys can see this. Here's the website, Clayton County, Georgia. You plug in the address and you can pull up the parcel ID. We see that it's 10 acres just for that one parcel. It's owned by this LLC. And when you search for that LLC, you can also see Atlanta Affordable Truck Parking LLC. So this may even be a subtenant because if you see here, the owner is Lee's Mill 5857. And it looks like they have a different LLC that is operating the truck parking. So it's just something to be aware of. You can see their assessed values. That's fine. One thing to note is that a lot of this is floodplain, and that's the reason it's not particularly valuable. See this low assessment, but it doesn't have a higher and best use because candidly, if the seller was looking to sell, they could have sold to a large industrial builder and they could have put a building, a 300,000 square foot warehouse on these parcels, this 16, 17 acre parcel, but they couldn't because it was a floodplain and that would be cost prohibitive. Truck parking almost becomes your highest and best use when it's a lot of floodplain coverage. So here is what I was talking about earlier when we talked about the building. 2008, a storage warehouse plus office, 4,000 square feet and 2,000 square feet of office, 19-foot high. And you can see their assessment value. They've got a tiny little bit of parking. I think it's a one parking space, a 10 by 10 for a parking lot of $12,000 value. But let's see the assessment notice and if it has a taxable amount. So this is the appraised value and the millage. So this is a little trick that I do. If you can't necessarily see the tax assessment, you can try to go pay your property taxes and it will show you if it's paid and what that amount is. So here we do have the parcel ID. So I'm going to look at the main one. So we'll just copy, paste, see if we can click into this tax amount, millage rate, 100, no, 2025, they paid 23,000 for that one parcel. Let me see if I can get the other parcels as well. But Jose, did you hear that? 23,222
That's the taxes?
on the 10 acre. We can be precise here. So maybe they combined them. No, that's still the and okay, what's interesting here too, it's an out of state owner. So they're sending their property tax statements to Minneapolis. Just something to note if it's out of state versus a local owner. Let's see. I can't get the other parcel, but I want to see at least I want to see what this other 6 acres is billed at. We don't have to do the half-acre one. So let's see. Oh, this is weird. The other one is owned by Atlanta Truck Parking. This is kind of weird. But 5,882. This is the adjacent parcel is owned by Atlanta Truck Parking
Okay.
LLC, and that's the dirt, the 6 acres. Interesting. Versus the other one is 5850 LLC, but they definitely seem like they're shared, right? There's no fence, there's no separate entrance for the Atlanta Truck Parking LLC. So I'm not going to dig into it too much. It is just vaguely interesting. I'm not sure what the situation is there, the agreement between those two LLCs, or maybe they just do it for tax purposes, or there's a 1031. Who knows? But just something to note if you are making an offer on this thing, that you have to include Atlanta Truck Parking LLC as one of the sellers.
Okay, so I have here taxes. It's roughly, that comes out to about 5% of revenue. So look, what we were saying, tractor trailer space is about 150. Truck only, I only saw about 5. That's honestly, that's not giving them enough credit. I'm sure that they have more truck only spaces in there. And these aren't just spaces, actually. We should clarify, these are the actual units that we see on the site, right? Trailers, these are short trucks actually. And then the shop maintenance. So about 770 a year gross. And then operating expenses, you said, what did you say? You said about 25K. So, I mean, I think this is just being conservative. We'll do 5% of revenue. It comes out to about, we could do.
What were my two numbers? No, I gave you two numbers, 22 and 5,800.
22 and 5,800.
I think that's
insurance.
30 is a better number, yeah.
Yeah, insurance 3%, might be higher actually. Maintenance and repair 5%. So that's going to be. It doesn't look like it's paid full. It looks like
it's
milling,
gravel.
right? Millings,
yeah,
gravel. Yeah,
millings
so
or gravel. It's going to need repairs. Yeah.
So what do you think? How often are they going to be doing that?
I think 38 is fine. If anything, it might be a little bit low, but I don't know how good the base is, what kind of drainage they have set up there. In the floodplain tends to get eaten up way worse, just because we know that water's moving that way. But it's fine. It's close enough.
And
Management.
then management fees. So yeah, that's, I guess it's going to be unique in all these markets, right? 8% is definitely not. You're going to have to do your vetting there. Is an 8% management fee necessary for something like this, Ron? I mean, you could kind
Yeah,
of give your own
I
take
think
on that.
so. I think
Yeah,
there's going to be enough interactions, especially with a tenant
with the shop. Yeah, with the
with the
shop, something's
shop.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then utilities. Do you have any take on utilities?
People are going to say it sounds high, but it's not.
And then I have to do my
That's right.
my selfish name here. You're going to want access control. You're going to want to know who's in the yard. You're going to want to have access logs. You're going to want to be able to
I
cut
mean,
off
credit card
access for
processing
guys.
fees too. That's rolled into y'all's expense, but I mean, we're paying a lot in credit card processing fees.
Yep, that's actually it's worth noting. And then you're going to want to have surveillance cameras, access control, all that stuff. In order to fill a yard like this and have tenants be with you for years on, you're going to have to give them the comfort that you are at the yard, that you have eyes on the yard, that you keep it well maintained, that you clean it up, that people aren't running into gates. And if they do run into gates, which are going to happen, that they can call you or they can call someone and that gate can be fixed up, because these guys are going to come in here 24/7 and they have a job to do. And if you can't fix that gate in record time, or at least get, resolve at least one way or another, they're going to leave and they're going to talk to people. They're going to talk to other drivers and they're going to get out. So am I missing anything here? I don't think so.
No, I mean, I think this is a in-place evaluation of what they paid for, and you can see it's probably debt negative. So this may have been an all cash purchase. That's something, again, we could verify. I actually have other videos that talk about how to look up debt on any property. We won't do that now, but I think this has to be all cash or some kind of a super low debt rate, because they are coming into this, making 500,000 a year. You can't afford to service much debt at that rate. So all cash, somebody is buying for the future appreciation. Maybe they're going to build a building on the 10 acres or the 5 acres.
What I
And
would do now, how can we try to juice this up? Some ideas I have are, if you, like what we were saying in the beginning, if you could portion out, say 10% of the spaces for dailies, uh, it's going to help. It's not going to move. It's not, I don't know how greatly it's going to move the needle, but it's going to help. I don't know.
because their daily rate was $35.
Their daily rate was $35 per day. They were showing 40 and they discount to 35. So if we can, let's just see what it does. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to portion out 10% of the yard that's just going to cater to daily drivers. There's no perfect number here, but what I have learned is that in working with yards, every yard you're going to get anywhere from 0 to 20% of your available space where you could welcome daily drivers. They'll come in, you help them out. Again, you have to be careful, because if daily drivers are coming in and coming and they aren't going to, sometimes they won't care for as much as if they were paying monthly, because the monthly guys really take consideration that this is their yard. So you got to, again, be cognizant of who you're letting in the yard and what they're doing.
Yeah. But what I like about this little experiment is that if you remember the NOI before about 500,000, this bump from 500,000 to 650, that could be your gain, right? That's pure profit to the
Right?
bottom line. So if you find a yard that has zero daily parking, but you think it's a candidate, your business plan could be to buy an existing yard based on the existing cash flow and then add daily, and then that's your gain, right? That's your extra 150K a year
Yeah,
as profit.
it moved the needle. It did move
Yep.
the needle.
Yep.
But
All
also you
right.
got to understand, so the daily drive, if like what we were saying, if you are going to start bringing daily drivers in, it will be a little bit more of an intensive type of business. You're going to get more calls. You may get more wear and tear at the gate. People may hit the gate. You may get some complaints. You may need to market it more. You may need to market it in a different way. Maybe it's paid ad spend, right? Maybe it's other ways to do it. But either way, you're looking at some juice there.
All right. If we were to buy this, man, I I'll just pick the price that they paid to see if they would want to get out of it. But if it's okay, let me hop over to the LOI because I want to take people from finding a site, underwriting the value, and then actually submitting paper. So this is a letter of intent template. It's just in Word. You can fill this out probably with AI. Well, we do it with AI as well, but I'm not quite as plugged in like Jose was on this. But if you remember, we have the two entities, Atlanta Truck Parking and the other one, Lee's Mill. So that's the seller address. I'm not going to address it Atlanta Truck Parking. That the other one was at the premise address. So that one, letter of intent to purchase 5857 Lee's Mill. What's the name? Road, right? There was a name on there, Mr. Reeves, Robert Reeves. I might as well just plug that in because that's somebody that they know. Buyer name, this is where I think it helps if you have an LLC. So for me, I use my FF real estate. Buyer would acquire certain real property. Real property. So here we would be specific. I think it's 16.8 acres of land. Oop, it's not in Texas. And then on Exhibit A, maybe we can jump there since we're going in order. What I would do here is just kind of do a snip. I need to. So here's just that snip. And I might even try to do something to indicate that I know it doesn't include this parcel. Let's see. I might do a shape like this, just so they're super clear that it doesn't include that parcel. So we're really just talking about not including that one, not including that. Yeah. Well, I want to include this triangle as well. There we go. All right, so we copied that one, paste it over here. And you can see the outline roughly. And again, for an LOI, this doesn't need to be legally binding, but it does clearly indicate to them what we are planning on buying. So let's go back up to the top. Buyer name, FF Real Estate LLC, or size, owner fee simple. Purchase price. I'm in favor of putting an aggressive price because if they counter any of your other terms of the offer, you can correspondingly reduce your purchase price. But if we want to make them interested, offer them 12 million. On a $12 million purchase, you better have at least 100K of earnest money. You might do something to be interested, like this, right? This one has a 90-day DD. This is all pretty standard. I wouldn't touch this. This is all good. Property specifications, existing leases. I want to specify rent roll because of the monthly Parker potential. 30 days for closing, split all escrows, PSA in 10 days. So this one is interesting. This clause is absolutely not required. I don't know that you need to do it. People that don't have money are more worried about proof of funds and showing the ability. Honestly, on this kind of deal where they just bought the property, they're probably not too interested. I wouldn't put the financing. I would just completely delete this section. If you are making an offer on something that you're very committed to buying at that price, but the financing you're unsure, then I would be upfront. I do think it helps disclose your deal breakers for the point, which is the financing. And then this could be, well, this is seller financing. Um, Again, the financing is 50-50 whether you want to put it in. There are certain scenarios when you do want to include this and ask. And there are other situations where I think it absolutely detracts from your offer and you do not want to put it in there. So no problem. LOI is non-legally. This is legal mumbo jumbo. This is important. You do need to sign this right here. I do want a signature. I do want you to put your name here like this. I do want to see this fully executed from the buyer so that all the seller has to do is not fill out the year, but they just need to sign and they just send it back. And you're rocking and rolling. You have an LOI. You can move forward. But if you want to see this LOI, just drop a comment. We'll put a link in and you guys can get this document. But this is it. I mean, this is literally what would kick off your discussions with a seller or an owner of a truck parking lot is this document. And I think it looks great. I think it looks professional. So definitely use that for
It'll
the
call. It'll get it. It will get a call back.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Your goal is not necessarily to go under contract. Your goal of submitting an LOI is to get a call back, to get an email discussing it, and that's the goal.
Great.
All right. Well, that was great, Jose. Really appreciate the time. We picked a random lot in Georgia. We underwrote the income. We did some pretty good estimates. I feel pretty good on that expense ratio.
Yeah.
We may be off by 10, 15,000, but we're not way off base, especially nailing down property taxes, which is your single largest expense, management notwithstanding. So I guess if you guys are still with us now, please smash that like button, subscribe if you're interested in investing in this type of industrial outdoor storage, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having us. This is a lot of fun as always. We did a random yard. We built this light model. We'll put a link down there and they can get access to it. And if they have any questions that have to do with truck parking or what we're seeing in the business, our YouTube is there, our website's there. You can reach out.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, guys.